extraordinaire, the Gemologist.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. First of all, apologies. I thought I would get this done sooner, but it's been a busy week, productive week. But yeah, it looks like it got published with just Merc the Meek and maybe Kasha's Collins. So if you listen to it, sorry about that. It has no context, but here I will provide you some. So I think Merc the Meek's call is prompted by the call in from Riley last time about checking up on games and what's going on. So I'm by request because I was talking to one of my players this week, Colin Green, and he said, I really like it when you do the recaps of the games that are going on. And he actually said, I glance at your YouTube, but it's a time sink. I like listening to the recap. So that's what I'm going to do. YouTube's aside, there are some games that are out, so I'll let you know what those are. And the games that came out this week were actually Coriolis, Dark Flowers. I ran a quick start for Coriolis, which is a free league publication set in a sci-fi universe called the Third Horizon. It's been called Arabian Nights in Space, but it's kind of a nice, I don't know if it's horror, but I feel like it has a good noir feel to it, and I really feel that the players that I had, Colin Green for one, and my wife Amy, really did it justice. And we had part one out this past week. I really enjoy free league games. I might as well recap it here. And I liked that game there. We did conclude it this past weekend, but part two doesn't come out until towards the end of the month. But really, it's that ubiquitous opening for a sci-fi, film noir, or horror show where you're going about your business and then you get a call from the company to divert. And they did, and then diverted, and then there was this old lab station, and they needed to find out the mysteries in it and deal with what had happened. And it was definitely disconcerting, but not super horrific, which is good. I think it could have been worse, but interestingly, and maybe this is a kudos to the players, that they went about it with calm and tackled the situation with more diplomacy and science as opposed to going in guns blazing. So I thought it was a really neat opening or introduction to Coriolis for Colin. Maybe he'll call in and comment, but we really enjoyed the play of it, and I do like the free league system. It's actually one of the most generous push mechanics that there are, I think. So if you fail a roll, you re-roll by calling to the icons, which are the equivalent of the gods in this sci-fi universe, and they're kind of represented by ideas like the judge, the dancer, the gambler, things like that. You call upon them, and you get your re-roll, and then you just accumulate darkness points. If you call upon the icons, apparently there's a balance, and it calls upon bad luck that could come your way. And these are used much like momentum in a 2d20, threat in a 2d20 system, where the GM can use them to have complications arise for the player characters, use it to trigger special abilities by the bad guys. And I try to, I don't know, I know it's been commented by one of the GMs that I make a regular appearance on their YouTube channel, that hey, if you as a GM just want it to happen, just make it happen. You don't need to use some sort of meta currency to mess with the players or make it happen. So I don't know. Your mileage may vary with that, but I like the mechanic, and I did throw some complications your way. The most interesting was so they were chasing, not just finding out about the station, but also chasing this missing ship that had gone to the station, and there were some crew remaining from the missing ship. And interestingly, as one of the players put it, wow, it wasn't like the monsters that were the problem, it was the humans that were the problem, which I think makes for a very interesting conflict. And if you listened to or played maybe the Alien RPG, it's very similar, right? It's not necessarily the monsters that screw you over for a percentage, as Ripley put it beautifully in Aliens, but it's not the monsters that screw you over for a percentage. It's the people. So I think that it went really well. I'm not going to say too much about the game. I think it flowed well. Good players, because it's out there as the Coriolis Quick Start Dark Flowers. Go check it out. It's pretty neat. And I actually ran a Coriolis campaign a while back, and it didn't really go. It went through a couple adventures, but it stalled mainly because there's some weird dynamic between a couple of the players, and they just didn't like the mechanic. They didn't like the fact that you only succeeded on a 6 and you're rolling like bunches of dice. But they really also, I would say, reluctant to use the push mechanic, where you get the reroll, and more likely than not, there's even a table in every single free league game that when you use a push mechanic, you will more likely than not succeed. So the other thing that came out this week on the YouTube was the my Amy, myself, and our guest Vince. We reviewed and talked about The Unforgiven. So I really would like to jump back into some westerns. So maybe that'll be in the future. We have like a Deadlands that we played a couple times, but there it is. So we've also been playing our ongoing Tales from the Broken Anvil game. We actually had a session, and YouTube-wise, we're a couple sessions behind. So we did a raid on the Boromore Clan Dream Lily. This is all made up. I'm trying to do as Colin said. You'll hear a lot of Colin quotes in this podcast. As Colin said, oh, that's sort of a geomologist forte, is throwing factions together and getting the players caught in the middle. So that's kind of what I've done in Eberron. The players broke up a Dosk shipment of Dragon's Blood, and then they rapidly flew over because they stole a Sky Coach way back, and broke up a Dream Lily, raided a Dream Lily shipment sponsored by the Boromore clan. We did a cleanup of that, and then they kind of did sort of some random encounters, and the random encounter ended up being like running into a patrol of Araroka, and it turns out that they were working for the House de Orion, so they're the clan that runs the Lightning Rail and the Skyships, the elemental powered Skyships. Probably the Sky Coach belongs to them, but the serial numbers have been filed off. So there's some tension between the player characters of the Aroka clan. Actually, it was a random encounter because the Sky Coach was forced down in a storm. The driver, their butler, Onyx, the artificer Warforged, didn't want to risk it, and it got damaged, maybe hit by lightning, or the elemental was wanting to go free. So Onyx had to corral it, and he landed the Sky Coach for safe measure. They ran into these Aroka. They said, "Who are you?" "Who are you? What are you doing here? You're suspicious." And then when you say, "Oh, we kind of," eventually it came out. They kind of debated what they were going to say. There was a suggestion that, "Hey, are you working for the Boromore clan?" I go, "No, we've been raiding them." So like, "Okay, you're cool." And then the train came, and the train needed to be protected. That's what these Aroka were here for. And the player characters sort of helped intervene because a flight of halflings from the Boromore clan on glide wings, which are pteranodons, came and tried to steal whatever the train was carrying. It's just the engine car and box car, right? The storage facility. It was a really fun fight. It was kind of neat to have like flying opponents and player characters doing various things. I know they got to jump and use their powers. Like I think one of the characters has Misty Step, and they crossed the track. I think they actually got they almost got one of the Glidewing riders smashed by the lightning train that was coming through. They succeeded. They helped the Aroka. One of the Aroka was actually damaged pretty badly, and the Bugbear, having jumped on the train, which is kind of crazy, having jumped on the train, helped stabilize the Aroka and fought off the last Glidewings that were trying to get in there. And then they met the person who was guarding the shipment, which ended up being a shipment of dragon shards. And and this person was from House de Orion, and the dragon shards were going up to further down the line to be presented and given to House Kundark, having been mined in the bowels or underneath the city of Sharn. So it was pretty cool. So the player characters in this following session. So that was kind of yeah. So right. So those are wow, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So the Dream Lily raid happened like 3 sessions ago, and then the upcoming session, which premieres in a couple weeks, is yeah, that's the second part of the raid where they divvy up the treasure, and we have the Glidewing encounter, and then the last one, which isn't premiering until June, but we're way ahead of the game. Um, right, that it's premiering way in June, and that is they get to the town or the city. And they're like, okay, what do we do next? So they're looking for jobs. They don't necessarily want to go back to Sharn right now. They try to set things up in both raids where it was like Dosk did the Dream Lily raid and Boromor did the Dragon's Blood raid, and they have a lot of contraband. So how do we get rid of it? What do we do with it? So they have some ideas, and this was the first time. Our last session that we played this past weekend was the first time that they got to like sell around most of their loot, get some cash, buy some things. They have like 3 of them now have like clawfoots to ride. They didn't capture any glide wings, but pretty cool stuff. So the other game that we do on the YouTube that we kind of played and I don't really talk about is the Twilight 2000 campaign. And I think I will let one of the players talk about that in a little bit and upcoming. But I think first, after talking about Eberron and Coriolis, I think I will let Mark the Meek talk and then answer his question with some more recaps. All right, thanks for listening.
Hey Carl, this is Merc. Just listening to your last episode, and I think both you and Riley were talking about seasons and retrospectives, and I was just pondering as I was listening that seasons are probably harder to do in a sandbox campaign. It's harder to actually have like logical breaks in the content because your players can kind of be doing whatever they want. So, and those what they want might change from session to session. So it's like how do you have closure there, I suppose. Whereas like adventure paths in Paizo content or whatever, it's like they kind of have chapters or whatever. They have it a little bit more organized, so that makes it easier. And it sounds like you're struggling to do the retrospective, and I guess I don't have much experience with it, but I was just thinking, well, maybe micro check-ins would work. Just 5 minutes at the end of the session, just seeing how people are doing. Like, hey, what do you wish we could do different, or what do you really like about what's going on so far, and maybe just ask different questions each time to get that same kind of feeling of having a retrospective without that whole like feeling of, oh no, we have to do this huge thing for Carl that could be slightly socially awkward or a hard conversation. If you're just doing it little by little after every session or every 2 sessions or whatever, that might be easier for people to take in. But I mean, you've got a whole lot more experience than I do. Just wondering what you think. Thanks, and take care.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for the call. Yeah, I think that is probably that is a great idea and a fantastic suggestion. I think really checking in as opposed to a retrospective checking in would be a good idea with probably with my home group. We did do, so speaking of seasons, we did do like season 1 of the Skullcrackers, which is the group in our Star Wars Age of Rebellion game using the Edge/Fantasy Flight game system, the one with the funny dice, and we really enjoyed it. We did sort of this takeover or taking of a base and then holding of a base against Imperial forces pre Battle of Yavin, so it was in I would say 0 BBY, and we ended at a good spot. So we kind of put that aside, and then I actually started for Star Wars Week. So I guess I'll talk about Star Wars Week last week with our kickoff of season 2, and I'm running Assault on or Onslaught at Arda 1, which is a published adventure by Fantasy Flight Games that I think has reprinted it. I'm not sure, but imagine the Battle of Hoth in The Empire Strikes Back, but instead of an ice planet, on a desert planet with a bunch of canyons, and the player characters were dug into a base, and they got to not repel, but when the Imperials find you, you got to move because they'll keep sending more people. Even if you win now, you win so you can get everyone out and move to another location somewhere in the galaxy, and that's kind of what the players did. Interestingly, the players got there, arrived there, and then soon after this happened, and I know they think that there is an informant in there, but maybe they're the suspicious one. So I'm wondering how that will go. I don't know when we'll pick up again with the rest of the season. Maybe as a palate cleanser, kind of substituted for our Warhammer Fantasy game, which is the one I really need to do a check-in for. And that one I've talked about that, I think, a couple of episodes ago, where they stopped or they found a group of Skaven with a warp grinder that had captured the people in the town, and we stopped after they defeated them, and maybe they'll go look for the townsfolk, but we don't know. That's supposed to be happening next week. And this week, well, we were playing our ongoing Bloodlords campaign, and we started Graveclaw. We had kind of done the intro to Graveclaw the last time, and I think this adventure path flows really well. I think it's good. It has kind of like a pulpy feel. We're not going to, and the players have bought in to do the side work, like doing the crafting and all that stuff in between sessions, so that's really nice. I mean, some players are scrambling to update their character to the next level when we start playing, but we have dinner before we play, and actually, Mark, that is a good place, I think, to do the check-ins while we're eating and not playing. Say, hey, how do you think it's going? What do you think we need to do? What could I do to improve? And then maybe they'll respond and ask what they can do to improve, because I do have some suggestions. So yeah, I think one thing I have noticed is that a couple of them, I mean, I guess this is the way of things. We're at busy lives and we get distracted very easily. We have different hobbies, not just the game. And I know people do this on online games, because I can tell when I have to hit it. So, hey, player X, it's your turn. What do you want to do? And then you can hear some stuff in the background as they switch their mic back on. So people do are distracted and doing different things, not focused and totally engaged in the game. And you know what? I am guilty of that as well. So if I point fingers, they point right back at me. But I think that is something that I'd like to do, especially in a not online. Hey, let's focus. Let's not be on our phones. You can check. If we need to take a break and you want to check highlights on the latest playoff game, let's do that during the break. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that? So I thought it went really well, the session. We kind of got into the forest here in Graveclaw. They want to track down this hag that is part of a coven that was behind the plot, they think, to poison the living population of Grey Dirge, at least, and maybe an overall plot to do that as a whole in the country of Geb. Although, if you know the history of Geb, Geb has done that before, where he's poisoned a large amount of his population during a war and rose them as undead, or brought them back as undead, however you say that. So yeah, is that a bad thing? Well, it might be a bad thing if some of the now, thousands of years later, some of the powerful other bloodlords aren't quite undead. And can you poison a vampire that sucks the blood of a poisoned corpse? I don't know. Probably not. I think they're immune to poison. I'll have to look. I'm sure in some games they are, but maybe you could develop a magical poison that targets them. It's a overreaching plot, and we'll see how far the players get. Here they fought a couple of evil fae. They fought a couple of red caps, and then they bypassed some undead trees because a couple of them are corpse tenders, and they can more or less make a diplomacy roll against mindless undead, and it's kind of like a turn mechanic, like the old school turn mechanic, and just move aside, or they can control them depending on how well they roll their sort of make an impression slash diplomacy is what they call it. Make an impression, the action, but you use diplomacy in Pathfinder 2. So then they found this pyramid. Oh, they met the protector of the forest who said, please kill the hag. And they're like, sure, we'll do it. She gave him some luck. It was another type of fey creature. And then they came upon this pyramid, almost like a barrow, and had some Karen Whites, and the Karen Whites almost took down two players, which is kind of interesting. And but one of the players, they learned, the other players, he had a secret, and he is kind of like the scion of a devil slash deity named Belial, and Belial manifested when he would have been dropped to 0 hit points, but something came there, and then after the Karen Whites were defeated, this player character tried to charm one player, and that was successful. But then he tried to enthrall the group as a whole, and even the charm player actually crit his saving throw and says, "Ha, you're trying to cast some magic on me." And one of the other players did that too. The other two players weren't buying the speech to worship Belial, and then he went back to normal with only like 1 hit point or something like that. So he was pretty jacked up. And another player, the Brian, the skeleton swashbuckler, full of vim and vigor and panache and taunts, also almost got jacked up by the Kieran Whites. But they found some nice treasure, about 100 gold pieces worth of goods, a magical shield, and a magical battle axe. So maybe it was worth their while. That's all we did this last session, and it was pretty fun. So we'll get on with it. I think actually we ended when they were like in front of the hag's cottage. So, and this is like it's a coven, right? So it's like 3, maybe 4 hags. So yeah, this is like the first part, and then they go to the other one, and then it's like a point crawl, a location crawl. The second module, Graveclaw, across Geb. So yeah, we'll see. We'll pick it up in a couple weeks and see where they go from there. Like I mentioned, I was like Star Wars week, and I'd run Star Wars game last Thursday, May the 1st. Is that right? No, it was May the 2nd, because the 4th was actually Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And that day, I actually I played a lot of games, or ran a lot of games. I actually played in a Skyrim game run by Kevin Madison. It's kind of similar to the Mythic System percentile dice and some variations that Kevin Madison's wanting to run kind of as a sandbox. And then that morning, I ran the Tales from the Broken Anvil, the Eberron game, and I finally figured out, actually, I know I talked about it in the other segment, but I finally figured out the direction I want the players to go in, so I forgot to add that. So I wanted them to do like this story arc, but we ran into the clan stuff, or the gang stuff, the gang warfare stuff. So this will definitely throw some more factions in. Eberron is full of factions, so I thought that should be pretty cool. And then I've never played, believe it or not, I've never played in the D6 West End Games Star Wars game as long as I've been gaming. It might be surprising, but I got to play in that, and I really enjoyed it. It was a game on Dungeon Musings channel, YouTube channel, and we played sort of the heir to the Empire era. We were scoundrels, scum and villainy, trying to do some job for a hut. Yeah, it didn't go so well. But we all survived, and that's the important thing. Lived to scoundrel another day, and we had a cool. You should check it out on Kevin Madison's YouTube channel. We had some cool cameos by people from stars from the era of the Empire. era. So I really enjoyed that. And then Sunday, played the second part of the Coriolis Dark Flowers. And then we had our Traveler game, our ongoing Traveler game. And I think I will talk about our Traveler game, which I was able to play on Monday. So the Traveler game I play in, we're playing sort of the Borderlands run. It's a Trojan Reach adventure, and also on Dungeon Musing's YouTube channel. So you guys should check that out. I'll put a link in the show notes to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. And then our Traveler game, we haven't played for a while just because of scheduling and conflict. Some people were out of town. I had my new job to do stuff with, and we finally got to play. And it was a really, I think, a good and dynamic session. And I don't want to tell too much about it because I know the way I am, and I know some of my players listen. But I think it was really good. It really forwarded the murder mystery. I think that they have a suspect, and we had some good action. There was a fight with one of the suspects, and now and then they found some hard evidence. So, but there's maybe some doubts. I can tell among the players there's some doubts, and some mysteries, and some potential side quests, let's just say, that evolved in the investigation, which I think is kind of cool. And now they're going to have to present their evidence and their recommendation to the bridge crew because they got 3 days before they come out of jump space and need to take care of this stuff when they get it, before they get or while they get into port. There are definitely some ramifications, and I definitely have a player, an NPC that's kind of, okay, what does this all mean? That maybe I can help you put it together. Let's talk about it. So I thought that was kind of cool too. So that was my Traveler adventure. The other game where it'd be good to check in, we might have another season and a break, is our Twilight 2000 game. But I'm not going to talk about it or give you a rundown. Maybe I'll comment on it. But I'm going to let one of the one of the stars of T2K do that for you. And that is Kasha from the alternate past of the Twilight 2000 universe. Take it away, Kasha.
Hello, Mr. GMologist. This is Kasia. Kasia calling in from the battle. It has been quite busy. Sorry, I have not been in touch much. As you know, we went from Atvak to Minsk, all the way over to Warsaw. We've been so busy, special operations, everything that went down with Jonesy, it's been a little on the tough side on everybody, but we rescued what we could, took airfield, you knew about that, and then we went up, we took out Baron's attempt to get weapons to use on Silius. He's so weird. Baron, I don't like him, but I can't say I've ever really met him, but I don't want to. But anyways, funny thing happened on the way to Warsaw. We were in the little Hind, flying around. We land, we meet up with the 300 of the, fellow Russians so that we can start assault and in place. We have all of our allies going, things going really well. But then, we were trying to see how we can get a hold of Marines that were still in compound, because Reed is good friends with them. We had planned to send notes and go and hit between 3:30 in the morning. And then Ren whistled and said there's big old T-64 with silly people walking and doing things. And, we decided it'd go time. So, 45 minutes later, we have now, stabilized the situation. Shall we say that we deflated Stalin's cupcake and the icing went flying? But we did find the candle on the top of the cupcake. The Baron is no longer. And we made sure everybody see Baron no longer. We blew up Cupcake. We collapsed tunnels. Peace finally in Warsaw. And Ren and I decided to go try to see school we went to. Could not find the school, but we did find the medical supplies that we needed. That always good. Then we decide we have, big bonfire, things like that, get rid of stuff, damage around. And Ren want to go see, football stadium for Legia Warsaw. He was over there. And yes, I did not know the day that I had to leave him that he was going to actually ask me to be his wife. So many things go so wrong in our life. Every time it looks like it's going to be good, something happens. Every time I try to get a moment with him, somebody have question. But I think this time might go well, I don't know. So if it happens, we make sure you get invitation. Anyways, have to go. Because, I think I have to plan a wedding. This good news. I think I need to go talk to Kylie. She my good friend and yes. Anyways, good night, Mr. Gemologist.
Well, there you go. In a nutshell, that is what has happened in our Twilight 2000 game. So we have a good group of players really enjoying it. The last game was kind of more of travel, and if you can imagine the logistics, and most of it was planning to move, not just, we calculated it, Amy and I did. There's like the force of the Free Krakow Coalition plus their new allies, the Soviet 10th Motorized Company. It's about 300, so there's like about 310, and then 70 of the Free Krakow Coalition. So they moved in two groups because the smaller group, with its kind of convoy of armored vehicles, and its relationship with the other people down the Vistula needed to go, hey, there's some people coming, they're not invading, they'll probably camp outside of your town, sell them food. They might be able to trade, especially guns and ammo, because we got so much of it. So it was a 408-kilometer trek down the Vistula with two groups, like I said, the Vistula Queen, and one group, most of the Free Krakow Coalition, and then some of the Free Krakow Coalition, namely the Marines, the Marine platoon that exists, the light platoon with its torpedo boat and technicals, and new OT-64 with a big hole in it. I think they probably at least patched that up or put some sort of steel plate there to cover the hole. They're helping and escorting and making sure no problems happen with the big force of the Russian 10th, which are honestly 90% Kazakh. And they have horses and a howitzer. They have horses, technicals, howitzers, some mortars, like artillery. They're the remains of an artillery company. Anyway, they're going to be moving out of Warsaw and to the outskirts of Krakow. And we've already picked out a place. There's the old Krakow International Airport. And it's probably got squatters and probably not marauders, but squatters definitely that they might have to talk to, run out. But we'll see. We stopped kind of when they got to Krakow because Amy and the others realized, well, we kind of need to talk to some of the leaders in Krakow and say, hey, this is what's coming. No, we're not going to attack and overrun you. Although the Ormo is still pretty strong, so it's really interesting actually. So in the old book, it was probably about a force of about 600, the militia and stuff. And I think there is an order of battle in the book. But in the new literature for the Friel-Lagan version, the 4th edition, it's a lot smaller. So I don't know. I have to reconcile that somehow. But Amy has had a good rapport with the leadership of Krakow in the past. The general of the Ormo might be an issue, but they have a good alliance with the police, both police forces, the Castle Guard and the Rada police force, one of whom we made as a temporary PC in a one-off game where they had to rescue the Pope from Cilicia. And actually, we're going to get to a stopping point, and I've already proposed to Amy that we do like a palate cleanser between while I figure out what to do. Am I going to run sort of the White Eagle free Poland scenario? I know Amy wants to kind of have this alliance of the Vistula, which will consist of the polities or the little cantonments in the ruins of Warsaw, Minsk Mazowiecki and surrounding area, Libulin and their territory, and Sandomierz. And then there's a lot of, because kind of some wasteland between Sandomierz and Krakow probably going to expand into that. There's some places that were hit hard by marauders and other catastrophes. So Sandomierz has already expanded with the help of the player characters earlier in the Pirates of the Vistula, and kind of has not conquered but absorbed maybe a couple of smaller villages and towns that had some marauder problems. So yeah, it's a neat place to stop. I'm still debating if I'm going to have the Silesia Krakow Winter War or not. A really cool coincidence is that Florian Filipowicz, the Saint, the Ghost of Czestochowa, whom the player characters uncharacteristically for most player characters, but not for the players that I have, they rescued him and saved him, and it turns out, we kind of made up the fiction that Amy's character knew him pre-war, and they have a relationship apparently, which is kind of cool. And according to the published works, this dude, Florian Filipowicz, is the brother of Julian Filipowicz, who is a leader of Silesia, the Margrave of Silesia, who has his own little city-state, right, or group of allied communities. So maybe the alliance of the Vistula will expand into Silesia. We'll see, and then they'll probably, hopefully, pacify South and Central Poland. And that is kind of what the future might look like. I know we also wanted to diverge a little bit. I have players who not really excited about a European theater type of Twilight 2000, but wouldn't mind Messed Up America, United States one. And I've always wanted to run Red Star, Lone Star. So maybe one of these days, it'll probably be like a Saturday or Sunday morning. And then there's there might be a spin-off from this Twilight 2000 one, where we do the going home stuff. So either the Marine unit or some others who want to go home. And then we'll do sort of the going home, and then the crossing the Atlantic, and then the stuff up in the East Coast. There's a series of modules up in the East Coast that eventually go to Florida and Texas, but you can skip those and make new ones and throw your characters wherever you want. Anyway, I think that will be it for today. Thank you all for listening. This has been the Geomologist Presents, or the Geomologist. I'm the Geomologist, I think, most of the time. And again, thank you for, apologize for the confusion of the 5 minutes of calls that I didn't incorporate or make into a podcast. And the intro and outro music is by TJ Drennan. Thanks so much, TJ. And the cover clip art is by my wife, Amy Lee. You can contact me at geomologist@gmail.com. You can hit me up on the various Discords that I'm on and leave me a voice message or a email message or type it out or whatever. I'm generally active on the Discords, and it'd be great if you guys can send me a message and tell me what you think. You're welcome calling for the recaps, and I will talk to you all soon. Good night and good rolling.